Get you some of the highlights, essentially, of what the Israeli ambassador and Iranian ambassador have had to say in the last few days. Here on India Today, we're the only channel to have both sides, both voices. So quick look at what they all had to say on some of the biggest contentious issues of this conflict, and then we'll bring in Rajdeep and Gaurav on that.
Absolutely, Gaurav. We have removed two existential threats on the existence of our state. One was the nuclear weapons program of Iran that was obliterated, and the second was the ballistic missile program that was also decimated. And by that, we have achieved the goals that we have set in 12 days. This has been an effort of decades that the Iranians have been putting in order to create the threats, and they have been removed swiftly.
Netanyahu is not reliable. He launched a military aggression against Iranian peaceful nuclear installation facilities, and he also during his military operation, this attack, they targeted residential area, healthcare centers, ambulances, hospitals, residential areas, different, did not pay the least bit attention to the international law, humanitarian law. So he is not reliable. He is not reliable regarding the ceasefire. But anyway, we are ready to respond to any action by Israel.
The Iranian regime has reached a ceasefire 1 hour after it entered into force. That's why Israel decided to retaliate. At that point, because President Trump has invested interest in the success of the ceasefire, he convinced Prime Minister Netanyahu to actually get a retaliation that is milder. I think naturally he was concerned that the ceasefire that we have brokered with our agreement as well was about to collapse, and therefore he replied the way he replied. But thankfully, the ceasefire now seems stable.
Intentionally, our military operation was in response to responding to the aggression of Israel. If Israel stop, you can call it ceasefire or whatever you want. If it stop, we will stop our operation against Israel. But you can count it as ceasefire or other thing.
Because Israel has gone, in many ways, out of its way in order to save human lives, in order to try to get people out of harm's way. And it is.
So you heard from both sides there on several of the issues. Rajdeep, what do you think? 12 days after this entire conflict that broke out, who's emerged with the advantage here? Who do you think has won this conflict amid a true ceasefire?
I don't treat a war like a cricket match, and I don't think you should either. The win, loss, it makes headlines. But I think increasingly, particularly in the world of warfare, and Gaurav will know this better than I do, I think every war is now fought with much more limited strategic objectives, and we have to look at what those limited strategic objectives were. From that perspective, it would seem certainly that Israel has sent a very strong message to Iran, and thereby would seem to have made a point. But let's be also honest. Iran was and is not Hamas, is not the Houthis, is not the Hezbollah. This is a large sovereign nation, a proud people, an ancient civilization. And therefore, when I hear, Iran has surrendered, as Donald Trump again claimed unconditional surrender, it didn't happen. What are we seeing today on the streets of Iran? Celebrations. Look, there are domestic narratives that run contemporaneously. We saw it even in India and Pakistan. India claiming we had won. Pakistan also there were celebrations. And in the end, who claimed real credit? Donald Trump. Same thing is happening here. So I think we have to accept that there were strategic objectives, some of which have been achieved, some of which have not. Look at the intelligence report that CNN has broken today and which is making the news. That Iran's nuclear arsenal may not have been damaged to the extent that many believe. They will be back perhaps in a month or two, back with their nuclear program. So did you achieve that objective? Israel's foreign minister, defense minister, certainly defense minister said that we want a regime change. Has that happened? Not yet. So I think we have to be a little careful before we assess who's won and lost. I think it will depend on how this plays out over the next 6 months, just as I believe even with India and Pakistan. It will depend on how this plays out over the next 6 to 12 months. Let's not rush into judgment on who's won or lost without seeing whether our medium and long-term strategic objectives have been achieved, whether Israel, Iran, or indeed between India and Pakistan.
Okay.